Let me share my screen here. And let me know if anything you can't see or if you can't hear me, we'll go back. So welcome to the dissertation seminar number 1. Basically, you'll have 3 of these dissertation seminars. Today, we're going to go over your commitments to the dissertation process. And I know you're all committed, you're here, you're raring to go. The assembly of your dissertation committee and selection of your chair, very important. The whole dissertation process, trying to eliminate some of those mysteries and scary processes. The dissertation does not have to be scary and confusing. It's a matter of planning. So we'll talk about that. But the dissertation process, if you know it, you can plan for it, whatever lifestyle you have, and be able to do this smoothly. And it can be enjoyable, you guys. It doesn't have to be, something that you dread. So we're going to talk about that. Completing the forms, it's very important. Throughout the dissertation process, those forms need to get filed with Catherine. And the reason being that keeps you moving forward. That is not, the dissertation chair will say, remember to file your forms, but you're the one filling them out, initiating them to get your dissertation chairs in your committee's signatures. Okay, so the process is you initiate everything because it's your dissertation. The committee, your chair, all the support within the doctorate program, we're there for you, but it has to be on your terms. And so we try not to force anything. So we want you to initiate that. We're going to talk about tools for completion. How do I do this in a successful way so I'm not just spinning my wheels and taking up too much time and having to rewrite, redo everything, okay? Then we're going to end with what's the perfect purpose and structure for chapter 2. Yes. Because that's the first thing you need to get. All right. And I think somebody has their, let me see who has their mic on. Yes, got it. Okay, got it. All right, now we're ready. So outcomes, these are outcomes today. We're going to talk about the obligation and your personal commitment. And it's actually not just your personal commitment, because it's probably your family's personal commitment too. So we'll talk about that for your dissertation so that you can complete in 3 years. Nobody wants to have this lingering for 8 years. You want to get in there, you want to get it done. And if you can think of it as a process, you'll get it done in 3 years. Okay, but you have to put it on your calendar and you have to plan for it. And then be able to assembly and start the selection of your dissertation chair. And I would wait, we'll talk about, but first pick your dissertation chair, have a conversation, then talk about your committee. We're going to give you a timeline, but then you're going to modify that timeline to create your schedule. When do you think you can get everything done? And then that will be your guiding timeline to get it done in 3 years. We also have a checklist for you, so you know exactly when to send the forms, when to do a certain process. So you'll be able to get that going and put some dates to it so that you can monitor your progress and then let your dissertation chair know. We're also going to look at all the forms and talk about them to make sure you understand them. And we talked about chapter 2. Any questions on the outcomes? Okay, luckily it's being recorded so you can go back and look. It'll be in this folder, the recording. So the first one, how prepared do you feel? And do you want to be able to finish your dissertation quickly and have it done well? I think we all want to do that, right? And knowing that you want to be able to move forward past your dissertation. Because professionally and personally, you're kind of in limbo until you get it done. There's a lot of things you give up. There's a lot of promotions you don't get because you don't have your doctorate yet. So we don't want you to stay in that limbo. Okay, we want you to be able to move forward. And we want you to get through all the clutter, have a clear roadmap to where you're going, know the dissertation process. All right, so right now, how prepared do you guys feel between, let's see, 1 and 10? Put it in chat. Good. That's not bad, you guys. Good. I like that. All right. What might be some of your concerns? Real quickly, what's a concern that you guys can think of that you might have about the dissertation process? You can just unmute and say. Marvin?
I think for me, number one is really honing in on the subject matter. Fine-tuning that is one. And number two is the committee itself. I want to be sure that it's one that is supportive of the subject matter I'm going to embrace, as well as one that will help me become better as a result of undergoing this process.
Mm-hmm. What might be another concern? Anybody else have anything else? Okay, Leon?
Maybe finding enough participants to get the data needed.
Ah, that's a good one. Yes. All right. Anything else?
Well, Becky, as long as you're on my committee, I think I feel pretty good about stuff. So
You're ready to go.
right.
Author.
I honestly just think it's fear of the unknown. It's like I've heard the term dissertation, and at this point now I've actually read quite a few because of the previous classes. But again, it's just the fear of the unknown, whether or not, you know, I have the capabilities to be able to pull this off, you know, maybe just a little lack of self-confidence.
Yeah. And it seems like, wow, how am I ever going to get all this written? And I have to be this professional writer. And I'm here to tell you, I don't think anybody is confident going into dissertation knowing that they're going to write the dissertation style, because it's more about academic writing versus like you're writing a report, right? So it's a change, but you guys have slowly been learning that. But with all the guidance, and you got Grammarly and you got a little structure, and we'll go over a little bit today with the lit review, kind of some structure you can think about. But let's go on. But I'm here to tell you, you're going to get it done, and it's going to be just fine. And you're going to be happy with the results, and be able to work with your chair to make it shine and just get it really polished. Again, a lot of times people see that literature review is the hardest because it's the first part that you're working on. A lot of individuals, they struggle with that lit review. But we're going to give you some tips today for that. And hopefully you'll have that roadmap. So let's talk about personal commitments. And I didn't get to the last celebration commencement, so I didn't have an updated picture. So personal commitments, and you guys know that from being in the doctorate program, you know, you have to have your commitment, your family commitment, your friends, and give up a little bit so you get everything done. So you have to plan proactively. It's a time management that I see a lot of the candidates struggle is in time management. And what it comes down to is putting it on your calendar. You've got to be able to write every day, you know, half an hour, and you've got to find a good time for you to do that. I have different candidates, they get up prior to going to work. So they write 2 hours prior to going to work, or at least an hour. They get up an hour earlier, so they have an hour to do some writing. I know when I did my dissertation, I would, you know, do everything with the family, go to bed, and I would get up about 2 o'clock. So from about 2 to 4, I would do my work. I'd lay back down, you know, until 6, get up and go from there. So you have to find a time that works for you. Set that designated time that you can think and be uninterrupted. The reason I like the evenings when nobody was up, because I didn't have the dog, the cat, the telephone, nobody interrupted me. I had 2 straight hours to myself. Okay. It's very important, as you were saying, to build that team, not only your committee, but also with your cohort. Who in your cohort do you want to go through this with? Who can be that guiding team that you guys can get together every other week and talk about your dissertations and how it's going, you know, vent a little bit, but then help each other with that progress. So you've got to form that team, and it is a more pleasant experience when you do have that team. Of course, always ask questions. That's what this whole process is about. And try to keep celebrating those successes. When you hit that milestone, make sure you check it off and celebrate that, because you're moving forward. Okay. So let's talk about some of the personal strategies you have done to help you not only with your doctorate program, but that you might need to do to help you get this writing done. So what might be some strategies, calendaring, strategies of writing groups? What have you tried? Anybody? Anybody in a writing group?
I think for me, just the calendar is my friend big time. I mean, if it's important to me, I'm going to log it in and so forth. I think my challenge, I kind of put this in the chat, is focusing on what I have to get done and being committed to it and not allowing anything to encroach upon that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out from the first semester, was kind of slack with that. And then I was rushing stuff the last minute, but yeah, I'm about that life moving forward. So.
Okay. Is it Salish?
It's Salish.
Salish. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think with like Kenny, our group is really good at holding each other accountable. And also I am a part of AERA team, and they have a writing retreat. So they meet up once every other week and hold 1 hour block time to work on your thesis or dissertation. And I'm sure we can, like cohort 16, we can come up with a plan to, we already have one actually. Every Monday we meet up at 7, and we can use that time to start from the scratch and get everyone through this journey.
Correct. Yeah, you really have to make it a priority. I have 2 individuals that I took on as they didn't finish their dissertation. And I think they're going on their 7th year or something. And I took them on, they were like 5 years in, and I said, you know, I will, you know, do it if you commit. And the biggest struggle they have, everything else is a priority. So what we want to make sure is that you've got to make this a priority, your personal commitment. Life is going to happen. You're going to have emergencies, you're going to have family situations, you're going to be stressed out from work, you're going to have all kinds of obstacles, but this has to be just as important. You are important, and that's what you have to remember. You are important. This is part of your career, and we want you to get it done so you can keep moving on with your career. So just make sure it's on the calendar. Like anything, if it's not there, somebody mentioned the gym. If the gym isn't on the calendar, you're not going to the gym. We all know that. So make sure it's on the calendar. Okay. Let me get back to this. All right, let's go to assembling a team. So when you're assembling a team, a lot of people get extremely excited and they kind of rush into their committee. The best part when you're thinking about your team is starting off with your chair. Your chair is going to be your guiding force. They have to be passionate about pretty much what you're studying, what you're researching. They have to have a little bit of knowledge behind them to be able to guide you. And the personalities too. Always have a meeting. If you think you want somebody as your chair, meet with them, talk to them, you know, give it about an hour to see if you'd really like to be with that person. Because it might be that, you know, personalities do conflict, and then you have to change your chair and it gets messy. So it's best to do all that hunting up front. you want to be able to find a committee. So let's say my strength is not methodology. Well, I'm going to make sure I have somebody on my committee that can help me with methodology. Excuse me, because basically your committee is your team, your support team. Your chair will guide you through, making sure the steps, getting you going, and then linking you up to the committee members when, maybe they're specialized in the area. Let's say you're doing higher ed, but your chair is not familiar with that proportion of it, your dissertation, then they're going to go to the expert, your higher ed expert in the particular, maybe community colleges, and say, talk to your community member on this. And then you would go back and have another conversation with your chair and report, some of the information that they were able to help you with. But you want to build a team that strengthens your dissertation, not just people you like or work with. They've got to be able to be there for you. And that's what makes a successful dissertation. Okay. Questions on the committee. We're going to go over all the roles and responsibilities.
I have a question, Becky.
Sure.
I think Diana is asking the same thing. Now, my question is, as the committee member should be from the education department. I work with the psychology department, and I've already talked about a potential, research topic with one of my former mentors, and she asked me to confirm, I can have the difference between the chair and the committee members. I'm sure you will go over that.
Yeah, we're going to go over that kind of now. So there's a makeup that you want, and we have certain categories where you pick your 3 members from. And so let's take a look at that. Let me pull up the folder here. All right, so in your folder, you'll have, and let me see, see where it's at in the list. Cohort timeline, dissertation. Oh, let me look at my cheat sheet here, see what the name was. Okay. You guys see this? Okay. Faculty and fellow description. So we have a list of core faculty members. The core faculty members are the ones that you're going to look for your dissertation chair. Okay, so they have to be approved as a core faculty member. And if you have somebody and they're not approved, that's when you talk to the directors if they're opening up to get anybody else approved. Okay, but there is a list. So you have core faculty members. They're, tenured on the tenured track. They're approved by the department. And basically you'll select from them to be your chair. Now, I know the doctorate program, last year it was in April, and I'm assuming they're going to do it. They didn't give me the dates, but what we do is we have meet and greet of all the core faculty. So then you can talk to them, get to know them, but we're also going to give you a list. Then you have what's called affiliate faculty. So these faculty members can be like your second committee member. And they're throughout the university and they're approved. They might teach something. So here's your core, and you probably recognize a lot of the names. And this was 2021. You should have something in there that's a little more updated. And then the list of affiliates you would have, you can do them next. And then basically the other ones are called fellows. Okay, so the community fellows, it might be somebody you work with that has a doctorate, and then you would submit that name to your chair to see if they're a good fit. It could be somebody else from basically the community, your community colleges, from the university. that haven't been approved through the cycle. So you have 3 different members. So the main one is getting your core. Okay, and so that list basically will be updated and the directors will be giving that, but they're going to have a time where you meet everyone. And then in your classes, also, if you meet your instructors, most of your instructors are in the core, or actually all your instructors are in the core. So basically, if you find that you really get along with one of your professors, then basically you might say, you know, I'm thinking of doing my dissertation in this area. Do you think we can have some time to talk and see if you'd like to be my chair? Some will say, well, you know, I'm filled up and I can't take any more. And some will be available. Each of the core faculty, we cannot take more than 3 individuals per cohort to work with. All right, so it's a matter of trying to see who meshes and who is the best person to guide you through your dissertation. Right.
Question on that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a time frame when we should be approaching it where it may not be too early, but it's not too late? Or is there a time frame where this will happen naturally as part of our process here?
That is this semester. They want you to be able to pick your chair this semester. And they'll give you opportunity to explore that. But again, I've known people that didn't pick it until, you know, summertime. They needed more time. But basically, the sooner you pick your chair, the better off you are. And this is why. Once you get your chair, you can start honing in your topic. They will help you hone it in. The sooner you get that honed in, then you're able to read a lot of articles for your lit review throughout the courses, stay on topic, use everything you're doing. The time that you're using for your coursework, you're reading stuff for your dissertation. Sometimes it doesn't always match, but most of the times it does. You know, so you want to keep your focus towards that topic. So the sooner you hone in your topic, the better off you are. Leon and then Viviana.
Yes, for the 3rd member, the fellow. So I know an individual who has a terminal degree, but he now does consulting. So he no longer works for an institution. Is that applicable? Is that okay?
Yeah, you would have to ask
Okay.
your chair and they'll say, you know, why do you want him? What's a specialty that's going to relate to your topic? And they'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's always check with your chair. Don't just form your committee, because sometimes you'll get 3 people on your committee and they don't always agree. That's a long dissertation process. It's not a fun dissertation process when that happens. So you want them all to be able to support you, but also be on the same page of moving forward. And your chair will tell you what they need, because ultimately the chair will say, now you can submit that to your committee. Until your chair says you can submit that to your committee, you're not submitting it to your committee. Okay, and so they'll ask you to submit it, and then maybe one of your committee members, I don't like, can we change this format? And ultimately it's up to your chair. Okay, it stops with your chair. The committee is advisory, I guess, a group. That's how I would explain it. So you want them all to be on the same page. You want them to talk and communicate about topics on your dissertation. So the more you work with your chair to get that committee, the smoother the process goes. All right.
I may be off and there's a naive question, but the list that you sent, is that also on the long list of docs?
I thought they did it, but I will put it on there when we have a break.
It's in the slide. If you click the link and it takes you to a separate document, that's where you see. I have a question, Becky.
Sure.
You have the list of core faculty, and is that exhaustive, or there could be more people? And the other part of the question is, they are all from the education department, the College of Education?
No,
Okay.
The core faculty is from every single area across the university.
Okay.
Okay,
And
so
when you say approved So approved by the, who approves those core faculty?
The core faculty is approved by the directors and the faculty of the doctorate program.
Okay. So let's
So
say
mostly the directors will, screen that piece of it and then send it to the board to get approved.
okay, and let's say I have a psychology faculty who is in tenure track, that she qualifies for the core faculty. And
No, she doesn't. Well, she qualifies, but they have, I don't know when they open it up this year. I don't know if they're going to open up this semester to get more core faculty, or if they're done for the year for core faculty. That's the piece I don't see in here. I don't see a list of core faculty.
okay.
So not, if they're not, that's okay. So they're just your second on your committee. So you
And
get,
even they're second, and they could be equally involved.
it's not equally, it's whatever your chair decides. So if you have a
I see.
chair that says, yeah, I want you to work with them, then that would be what you would do.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
But we do have some psychology core individuals, and I'm sure it's not an issue. I would talk to the directors. I'm going to look, I thought it was in here, but I was looking at an old one. I saw it said 2021. Okay. So I'm going to catch up on, did you guys? Okay. All right. You guys sharing that. All right. Other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Viviana?
So yes, if you pick a chair, because that's going to happen soon, what if you're working with that chair but you don't get along? What happens then?
Yeah, we have had some of those. You would go to the directors
Okay.
and speak with them, and it's just not you don't get along or you don't agree with them.
Yeah, or you
What
can't work with them.
specific, yeah, what specific is it? And they will work that out. Okay, we
Okay.
have had some of those. Changing chair is messy, you guys.
Right, right. That's
So
why.
that's why take your time, screen all of us, and really find out. It's not that, oh, you like the person. It's not about that. It's what is their background knowledge? Will they, your type of writing, everything. Because you might love this person and your writing is totally different than what they're used to. And that will frustrate you. Okay.
Thank you.
So what I'm saying is put the brakes on. Don't jump in and just pick any chair. Pick somebody that you can work with. My dissertation chair, even after all these years, is a really good friend of mine. And we talk all the time. And when I have an issue, I go to her. She has something, she comes to me. We're not at the same university, but it's somebody that I know I'm going to be working with for years. Okay.
So Becky, does so that document you show what the different categories, the core faculty, it could be adjuncts, et cetera, et cetera. So does each member have to come from each one of those categories, or could all three come from, let's say, core faculty?
They could come from core, but understand that most of the core will pick 3 or 2 students as a chair and then they'll be done. Some only do 1 chair a semester. They pick 1 that they would chair. So they might say, like, I'll do 3 chairs and then do 3 committee, and that's it. So that would be 6. So you could pick a core to be part of your committee, and that's fine too.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, but the core is the people that you really want to focus on being your chairs, and we have some good ones in there.
Right.
And I will look when we take a break if they have it on the website. A lot of times they have this on the website. The next one I want you to go down to is your document program guidelines. And it should look like this. And I believe it's on page 28. Okay, so let's go to, it's, yeah, page 28. Role of the dissertation chair. And I want you to read through that. Everybody find it? Okay. I want you to read through that, and then I'm going to put like a 3-minute breakout group for you guys. And you're just going to talk about really what is the dissertation chair? Who are they? Okay, so read through that real quick, and then I'll put you in groups.
Can the ones that are here, can we be in a breakout group among us? There's 4 of us here.
Yeah, I just don't know who they are. I'll do select. Okay, so I'll
Okay.
let you select the teams. And
Like, you might put
then-
that back on the screen, so I'm getting my car fixed, so I'm not, I'm kind of,
Okay.
if you can put that back on the screen, I can read it, that'd be great.
No problem. Okay, so let me redo that. Let me blow it up for you.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, perfect. That's good.
Okay. Let me know when you want me to go to the second page.
All right, second page would be great. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to let you choose. Let's do the ones that are face to face. Choose room 1, okay? Or you don't have to choose. Everybody else choose 2 or 3. Probably about 4 per room. Everybody get in a room. Okay, let's do about 3 minutes once you're in there.
How many per room?
It
There's
looks like we
5
have
in
1,
each
2,
except
3,
1.
4. That's fine. Yeah, that'll be fine.
So which room do I go? Like number 2?
2 or 3, yeah, because you're online. David, you're face to face, right?
Yes, yeah, we're all
Okay.
face to face.
Just waiting for room 2 and then we'll get started again. I'll resume the recording. Think of somebody from your group if they'd like to share some of the comments.
Go down to the reaction.
We have a question. I couldn't find that little hand raise thing, but.
Yeah, hang on. Let me get everybody back real
Okay.
quick. We got 30 seconds still, and then we'll turn the recording on so nobody misses anything.
Okay.
It's just to break it up a little bit so you don't have to hear me the whole day. This used to be a 4-hour, you guys, and I would have to go through 1, 2, and 3. It was brutal. And you remembered nothing. So I'm glad they did it this way. Okay, I'm going to turn back on the recording.
Oh, like trying to figure
Hi,
out
I'm back.
how we find out what.
Oh, they
the
switched me. Sorry, guys. Am I in another room right now?
We're in the
What
main.
I think we all got
Bibiana,
brought back.
you're in
Oh,
the
that's
main
it?
room.
We're done?
We're
Okay.
done. It's a
Okay,
short one.
okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead again.
So our question was, is there a list somewhere or somewhere where we can find information on who the professors are, who the core faculty is, or who we're allowed to choose, and a little bio or a profile of what their background is and all that.
The
because
dating
some of us have
profile, so what they want,
searched.
the dating profile.
Yes, they do have that. Let me get there. That's what I was trying to get during breakout room, but I wanted to check in with you guys also. Okay, so if you're on the doctorate webpage, doctorate education, educational leadership webpage, they do have program faculty. And each program faculty has updated their vitas. And in their vitas, they have their research interests, what they've done in the past, some of their research. And so you'll be able to see it. It might not be as updated as you want it. But basically it'll have that. I'm looking to see a different. Yeah, and
Does
that's,
someone have the link? Would you be able to share the link to where that is?
let me give you the link. I thought you guys would have that bookmarked. There you go. So if you go there and then go to, program faculty, it does have, you have your dissertation resources, different forms, faculty profiles, and then these are some of right now, some of the core faculty on here. And then basically, let's see if it's not going anywhere. Okay, so it's kind of stopped. But as you know, Dr. Acevedo, she's one of the main core faculty, and there's no links. Okay, so I will let them know because it used to have links.
I think they can also go to the directory.
Directory. So you can, if you take their name and then put it in their directory, but that's a hard way to do it.
Yeah,
We used to have links here that would say learn a little bit more, and I think they've changed that. So we'll get that. The website is constantly under construction. I didn't even know that was taken off, but they will have that on there so you can meet them. But what's really nice is they do that meet the faculty. That's really, you need to show up there because it's more personable. I'm hoping they're having it face-to-face this year, because that would be even better because you can do some networking, walk around, talk to different people. It's hard to do that when you're on Zoom. It wasn't as nice during COVID having to do that on Zoom, but when we have it face-to-face, it's really nice. So I will follow up and have Catherine send you an email with the current list, and if there's a place where you can get their bios. Okay, so that would be a must for you guys. All right, so let's go back here again. So dissertation chairs, what were some of the things that you really saw? I know Marvin, you had some good input, and I didn't get to hear who was on the floor. So let's go with group 1. What were some of your thoughts? Those are the individuals in the room.
There was no group 1. It was 2
That
and
was
3.
us. No, group 1 is
no.
the one us
There
that
was
are
one
in
Group one was,
face-to-face.
yeah, group one was in the room.
Yeah, so
on campus.
that was a question that we had. We were talking about like, how do we know who's done what and
Mhm.
how we can get face to face with them so that we can get to know each other. So that was the
Yeah.
question.
And usually what you would do with when you're requesting a dissertation chair, you write up a mini proposal and you submit that to the person you want to be your chair. Okay, so you need to submit, you can't just say, do you want to be my chair? No, you're going to write up a mini proposal so they can read through what your thoughts are, and
Are
a
there
little bit about
examples
yourself.
of a mini proposal anywhere?
I could try to collect some, but you guys haven't done a proposal yet?
No, ma'am.
Did you do your problem statements?
And we did one for the second class. It's an
That's what I thought,
assignment.
yeah. Okay. So usually you do it in the first semester. It's in your course. I think it's with Acevedo. Is that correct? Yes. And she usually has like a mini proposal and kind of goes to the guidelines. And a lot of people will use that and they'll morph it into now what they want to do. But it's just some thoughts. If you don't have that, then say these are some of the areas I'm thinking of researching, but I have not narrowed it down specifically. That's fine too. But why do you want them to be your chair? I guess that's what I'm trying to get across. They're going to want to know why. And what type of methodology are you thinking? Qualitative, quantitative? Some of the core faculty, I only do qualitative. I don't have a lot of quantitative background because I'm an EDD. But if they really want me as our chair, then I make sure they have a methodologist in quantitative also on the committee. Okay. Yes, question.
Yes, thank you, Becky. Like you shared, like, you only do qualitative research. Now, if we can have, I did search in the directory, still doesn't show up anything additional than the faculty's name and their office information. So if you can have that on the website, that would be really helpful. And in our room, what we talked was, I think Viviana's, Marvin has a good point that if we can have a list of go-to ask questions from our chair, like some common theme that what should be asking when we, like the mini proposal could be one, but that does not fully capture our concern. And Viviana had a concern that we barely got to know 2 professors and we have to start choosing a chair. And that's sort of
Not yet. You have the whole semester. They're going to set some events up for you. So just realize, you're not quite, it's not there, but it looks like in the process, we do have a page. I can tell you we have a page, but it looks like we just got a new marketing director. And with him modifying things, I think he didn't realize the importance of that page. So we'll get that back up. That's not an issue. You'll have it. That's what this process is for right now. The importance of a chair, realizing you're going to have time to meet all the individuals that you may select a chair from, and then also have a list. Okay, just like the list I showed you. I'm just not sure if it's updated, you guys, because it says 21 on it. So I want to make sure that I have the correct list, and it wasn't there. So we'll get that. That's not an issue. It'll be in this folder, okay? So when I get it, I'm going to put it in this folder. So please look for that. And I can send you an email because I do have you all on Canvas right now. Okay, other questions? Any other comments? What do you read? I loved what Marvin said in his group, how a couple of his colleagues had bad experiences and what advice he gave them. Would you mind sharing that?
Certainly, I've been sharing about my desire to pursue this for some time now, and I've had some colleagues who have their PhDs, their doctoral terminal degrees, and when it comes to chair selection, what they've said is that they were in a hurry to have a chair so that they would be moving toward that process of completing their doctoral, but in that process, they began to identify personality issues. They began to see that their selected chair were not available as much as they were initially. Some of them, at least one, shared that her chair wanted her to change the topic because it would be better for her, instead of supporting her or helping her understand more, versus more like, no, you should just change it. I'd be more comfortable with that. And so it didn't seem like a symbiotic relationship, more than a dynamic of power where, no, I'm the chair and I want you to change it. She refused. And she said, listen, if you're not going to do it my way, you need to change to another chair. And so having to go through the motions of selecting a new chair, she said it was just draining. And so what I shared and what they said is, listen, you are just going through it. I'm glad you're asking these questions. Take your time. Make sure that the chair understands you and your vision in terms of your doctoral aspirations. And also ask them very frankly, is that something you can support me with? Where in the past, I didn't do that. I just wanted to put a name in the box of who the chair was going to be. And so that was the takeaway from that experience I had with my colleagues. I asked 3 of them.
Okay, so good advice. Yes, there are specific questions. I just uploaded the current, it looks like 122, so it looks like they do it in the spring, listing in the folder. So refresh your folder and you should have the current listing. It's at the top, faculty and fellow descriptions, so that you're able to go down to the bottom. And this looks like the updated list, similar to what it was before. It doesn't change much. And then basically the web page to be able to talk to them, it will be incoming. I know we have it. It's a really nice page. I'm just not finding it on the website. So we will continue to look for that description page. Okay. So that is in there and I'll get that to you. If you go down further in the PDF document, you can see the role of a dissertation committee. So scroll down past the dissertation chair, and it's on page 30, the role of the committee. And I'll put that up for those of you who need to see it. So the role of the committee members, and this is a little bit easier. So let's just review it together. So you see the difference just in the list, right? You got 2 pages on dissertation chair, and you have 1 page on the committee members. Basically, they're there to support you. They'll read your chapter 1 through 3 when you're done. Your chair says you're done. Let's give it to the committee to read and do your proposal. They'll be attending and at your proposal in your final defense. And then they're going to review all the chapters. Okay. Now, the main thing with your committee and your chair, we're not proofers. You need to get a copy editor. You need to get somebody who will proof it. You need to proof it. We'll say you need to get a copy editor. Okay, so don't expect your chair or your committee members to go through it and correct all the grammar, all the edits, everything else. They're going to look at the content, and then they'll say, now you need to spend, the next 3 weeks or next month editing this. So it's best to do that up front. Any questions on the committee member? So a lot less than the chair, correct? All right,
Yes,
go ahead.
Indeed. It says at the request of the chair. So is it such that if the initial chapters go through with flying colors, that the chair may not request it, or is that just a practice of that the chair will always request it just so long as they have approved to move forward?
You will always get the editing comment on all dissertations, pretty much. There's not a single dissertation I've seen that doesn't need editing.
Got it.
Okay. So do you have a good friend that can do it? The best thing as you're writing, at least once every other week, send your paper through Grammarly. Check it yourself first. You can do some self-checks through Grammarly. The less time it takes for that editor to proof your dissertation, the less money it's going to cost you. Okay. I did a lot of it myself, but it took a lot of time because that's not my forte. So it did take a lot of time, a lot of focus, rereading it, 20 times before I got it just right. And then I still had to do the editor and work out a lot of other things because that is not my area. That's okay. We also have the Writing Center, right? So the Writing Center will also help you look at, the grammar, the structure. They won't do the content at all, no content, but they'll help you with structure. And we'll get into that a little bit later. All right, so the next part is somebody asked, well, what questions do I need to ask my dissertation chair? The biggest thing is the communication. All right, are they available? Will they be available to receive your calls? I give all my candidates my cell phone. They can text and call. If I'm not available, I'll say I'll get back with you sometime that day, but they're available. Some will say you can only use my email. Well, that might not work for me. Maybe I'm not a big email person. I'd rather text you. Can we meet regularly? For my candidates, I require them to meet regularly once we get into it. So we start off with once a week, and then we go every other week, and then we do once a month as they get more into the writing process. But there's a lot of planning that goes on. Okay, so we have to, when do you want to do? Weekly, bi-weekly, once a month? Do you want to meet over coffee, over lunch, and we talk it out? A lot of times I do, we're walking, they might be doing their walk and they're talking to me. That's fine, as long as they can let me know what they're doing. And then others say, these are your deadlines. I want this by this date. It's like an assignment. Your dissertation chair will say, you will have this done by this date, send it to me on Monday, and that's what they expect. You don't give it to them, they can't plan their week. So you have to work all this out. So I would say the biggest thing is the communication issue in your style of how you work and the processes. And it always goes back to your commitment. It is always your responsibility. It is never the chair, oh, well, the chair forgot to do this. No, it's your dissertation. And I always tell my candidates, I'm not sure if I always agree with this specific topic, but it's your dissertation. I'm going to tell you to please modify this, but ultimately it's your choice. So if you want to go and put that in there, then you're risking maybe your committee members won't accept it. Okay, but you're adults. That's how I operate. Others say you will make the change or you will not move forward. Okay, so it's up to you. You've got to get somebody. When I did it, I'm kind of copying who my dissertation chair was, and it worked well for me. Questions on this? Yes,
I have
Viviana?
a quick question. Somebody spoke about during one of our classes, I forget which one, but they spoke about finishing early, only because they already had everything planned out. They had everything to go, and it was like that one. I think it's a semester that's given to just do the dissertation. I'm not sure. I'm speaking here just.
We're going to go over that now. Yeah.
Okay, correct me. Okay, I want to hear that part.
Yeah, let's go over it and then we'll see if you have questions after that. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. So then after that, there's a lot of forms. Let's look through that file and look at some of these forms. Here are your main department contacts right here. I think you guys have all of these. And why Audrey's still up here, I don't know. But let's go to the forms and the documents and look at those. And we're just going to open them up and kind of talk about them. I think that's the easiest way. Let me get there. The forms are really important. So the approved dissertation format, let's look at that real quick. So we're here. And it goes through, here's chapter 1, what should be in there. Here's chapter 2, everything that should be in there. And we're going to look at that today. Talks about what a literature review is. You need your problem statement, you know, the purpose of the study, topic headings, subheadings, and then of course, always a summary of each section. Research design. This is going to be your roadmap. Okay, don't lose, you got to keep coming back to this. We're going to start with chapter 2, and it looks like it's the smallest, but it's not. It's the biggest chapter and most important chapter besides your methodology and your findings. Okay, all right, let's go to the next one. And I'm just going to go down. I think it's a little bit easier if I just go down, even though they're not quite in order. We have the rubric, dissertation rubric. And this is what we kind of look at, but this is what you should be doing a self-check on, and check each other on this. Read each other's chapter 2 and give them a score. You know, it really helps you if you help each other. So chapter 1, we're looking at these components, and do you qualify? Where would you rank it? Okay. So if we go down to chapter 2, research is clear and placed in a research timeline, appropriate and adequate literature review, clear links, it identifies the problems and gaps. They're reviewing current literature and also giving some historical perspective. It's well organized, coherent, it's easy to read. You have those you know, topic sentence, supporting details, you're comparing, contrasting, you're identifying those gaps. So it's easy to read. So think about this as working, if you're a teacher or lecturer or professor, and you ask for assignment and you struggle reading a paper, does a grade go down or up? Goes down, right? It's the same thing with a dissertation. If you have good topic sentence and good transitions, then it's easy to read, and everybody is going to be much happier and not point all the faults out in your dissertation. So you've got to work on that component. Okay. All right. So the next one, we have the timeline. I want to spend some time on that. So Cohort 16, dissertation timelines. So let's take a look at that. Now they have nicely laid this out for you. This is what they're suggesting. And then you will need to do accordingly what you have. So maybe you go in for a surgery and you didn't miss that, so you're going to have to modify it. Everyone is different, but you have to have this. It's like if you don't set a goal for the year and work out what you want to do, you're not going to do it. So by November 2023, you'll be taking your qualifying exams. All right, everybody will be doing that. And then here, by or before March 17th, all 3 chapters completed and submit it so you can do your preliminary defense sometime in April or May next year. Okay. Then you have to, after your preliminary defense, but you should be doing the city if you haven't already in one of your courses, the city certificate. You do that before you can submit your IRB, so you have to have that done. And your chair has to have an updated one. That's another thing, you have to get it from your chair and be able to submit that. After your preliminary defense, your chair would say, okay, let's work on your IRB application. You would work on that, they'd make sure you had everything, and then you would submit it for approval. Once you get the IRB approved, then you can start collecting data. So they're looking at between November and January that you're doing your data collection. Okay, 2024. And then January through March 2025, you're finalizing your chapter 4. And your final defense hopefully will be in March in 2024. Okay, or April, March or April. Okay. Sound like a plan? Okay. Life gets in the way sometimes, and it's okay. So just a story. I've had several candidates, they get to that data collection and they just want to be able to have a little more time to make sure it sounds better. So they take the summer to really clean it up, and then we do their final defense the following September or August or September. And that's okay. All right. There's not like this shame going on. It's your dissertation. It's going to take you the time that you need to get it done. Some are quicker. I've had some get it done in December. All right, but they're very and highly organized and focused. And some of us, you know, right now, that could be hard. Questions on the timeline. So your job, your task is to start looking at this timeline and make a timeline for yourself so that you can have it for your chair or proposed chair. This is what I'm thinking. Because I don't know, maybe they're on sabbatical when you want to do your final defense. They might be planning on a sabbatical during that time. So they're saying, no, I'm not going to take you because I won't be here, and that postpones you for another semester. Okay. So this is the timeline. Questions about the timeline? Does it seem doable?
I love the way this is laid out. This is nice. Very clear, very methodical. I love it personally.
Yeah. So if I know I'm going to have qualifying exams in November, what that means is all your courses, and we'll mention it in the course, this is what the topics are going to be for your qualifying exam. I mentioned it at the beginning. I review it at the end. It might not be the same case study, but you're going to have a case study and you're going to have to write about these things so that you can take a mental note from day one of the course to the end of the course. This is the expectations you're going to have. Okay. For all 3 chapters, we're starting with 2. So right now you're doing a lot of reading, a lot of writ review. We want you to continue on that. All right. So let me go back and get to the folder, and then we'll keep going on these forms. The forms are the longest, you guys. I'm trying to make sure you understand the forms and where to go. You're always coming to this document, this folder, to get these forms. Dissertation committee and chair. It has a little bit more here. Read through this. I'm not going to take the time today. Here's some conversations, questions that they might, questions to the professor, what you can expect, and then basically all the way down. So those questions you might want to ask, I would want you to read through this and then be able to, before you even think about a chair, read through all of this. Okay. The next one is, let me see if I can get them semi-order. Defense. Let's go ahead. Okay, so this one's in the defense. And basically, you're going through, it tells you what to expect. So you're going to present for 30 minutes. You're going to get questions from the committee, and they might open it up to the audience if they have time. And then they have a concluding statement once they deliberated if you have passed. Okay, and they'll always have comments. They might have corrections. Usually you have 1 or 2 corrections that you'll need to make, minor corrections. Okay, and that's not uncommon. The closer you work with your committee, the less corrections you'll have. Here's your proposal. What can I expect for my proposal? What are they looking for? Okay, defining all that educational issue. Did I clearly define it? Did I give them the history, what's current, some of the debates in that, your issue, your topic? okay, research design, and then your overall the decision by the committee. So all of these you're going to have to slowly look through. This is not a 2-hour, we can do all that. We went through the guidelines. We went through this one, I added that. Okay, so you have the current faculty now here, and that's who you'll meet and greet. And then basically the IRB chart. You're going to have a whole workshop on IRB, but just know they're there to keep everybody safe in your research. Approve your methodology, that it's safe to be able to perform with the population you're hoping to, okay? That checklist is something you need to print out and post. Okay, so year 1, your program plan reviewed, satisfaction complete, coursework for year 1, and complete your program plan. Okay, spring, that's what you're in. This is what you're going to do. Okay, summer, you have this. So you're starting to do your dissertation stuff. Okay, then you have fall. Here's your qualifying exams are there. If everything's complete, spring, then right here, you know, you're starting that dissertation proposal. Okay, and so this is your checklist. What I have my candidates do, they take this checklist and they make it for them exactly what, and they keep track and they share it with me so I know exactly where they're at. Okay, we add the forms to it, what forms need to be submitted, and we get that going. If you don't have that, you can work together and you guys can create it for the group and then be able to share that. But that checklist needs to come out. You need to print that. The rubrics need to print out so that you know exactly what you're working towards. And then of course your program plans here. Okay. Any questions on those? Okay, do we need like a 5-minute break? And then we're going to go on to chapter 2, lit review. Let's take a break. So I went a little bit over, but I wanted to stress that dissertation chair, don't rush into it, please. This is your success, who you partner with in order to guide you through this process. Okay. All right. Let's do 25 after, and then we'll come back and we'll hit the lit review, all about lit review.
Thank you, Dr. Sumbera.
Get on. Okay, so a literature review. So you said that it basically was a
thanks.
review of all the literature and basically what came before and what's going on with your topic, correct? Okay. And the thing we have to remember, it's not a report. So let's get going here and see if I can get you guys started, because this is helpful if you can, you know, think about the literature review while you're going through your coursework. Okay. In order to do a good literature review, you need to really know how to organize the information. And what that means first is what are some key topics, key words that you're going to search with. So if I have a topic, I need to clearly define, you know, 5 or 6, you know, key words that I'm going to search with to make sure I get all the literature in that area. So you're going to outline your search. Sounds kind of strange, but you have a key topic area and then kind of brainstorm with others. What are some search words? Because people use different terminology. It changes every 5 years, the same thing, but it just, terminology changes. And you want to outline your search. So you can do that best, and I would advise people, don't take my advice, to connect with the librarians. Take your topic to them and have them brainstorm with you how to best do a search. 100%, it will save you so much time, you guys. They are experts in this area. Use their resources. They love you guys when you come in. They're so used to just doing kind of the mundane stuff. This is the stuff they like to do. They like to help with you with your dissertations or thesis. It excites them to be able to help brainstorm some key search words in what periodicals, books, where do they think is best to look for your content area? And that's the next one, know where to look. So the first two there are basically, the search outline and know where to look. That's the librarian support. You pay for it, let's utilize it. So go there, make an appointment with them, and then start. This is helpful for your classes also, is to have them help you with that. You need to understand who, what, and where in the literature and what's going on with your topic. You're going to read the literature, analyze the literature, outline some key themes and topics to be able to discuss those with your chair before you even outline chapter 2 or read chapter 2. So if my candidates can't verbally talk to me about their topic and what the research says, we're not ready to outline chapter 2 yet. You're becoming an expert in your area. So let's take the time and do that, but utilize the librarian. Okay, so it's not a report. We all know how to write reports. Your literature review is not that. The first thing, after you organize a search, then you've got to decide when you find stuff, where do I need to put it? Am I going to use Zotero? I might need to take a course on that. Am I going to use Evernote? That one you will have to pay for. Am I just going to use Excel? And I'll show you some examples there. Am I going to use Google Drive to put in folders? Now, some people print it out and put it in a folder. That's fine because that's the way they like to read. But I caution you not, you need to have an electronic format to collect all your articles so you can do a key search. So after reading so many, you're like, I know I read that somewhere. It would take you 2 weeks to go through all the paper articles, but you could do a simple search and find it within the articles if it was electronic. So you can do both, but I would not recommend only doing paper. Okay. So all of these, and I put the contact for the librarian that you can use, Lisa Bartel. Please utilize the library support services. This will save you probably 2 months of work if you just have one simple appointment with that librarian. Okay, and you'll be smiling versus frustration. So this is an Excel example of organizing your literature. You have the author, a couple of different themes, and then basically some key concepts that you were able to find with that article, within the book, whatever it might be. Some people like this. I like this for organization, but I like to use EndNote or Zotero to keep my files. Other individuals, the reason they like this is because, okay, so here's a book, here's a quote from the book. So they take a quote from the article or the book. And then the very end, what I've seen some candidates do, they cut these into strips, and because they're more hands-on, they organize them into topics. And you can see it on both sides. They're kind of organizing to be able to structure their lit review. So that's one method some individuals has done. And then basically, where's the other one? Sorry, others kind of will do this process. Okay, so they put it on 3x5 cards. Some like to do 3x5 cards, put everything on that. Some will do stickies. I wouldn't have enough room to put all the stickies and they fall off, but they tape them and they do all kinds of stuff. So it's your method. So think of your style right now. And I'm just these couple of styles, and I'm going to put you in groups. How would you like to collect your research articles and keep track of some of the main key points from each of the articles? I used to have, when I first started, I liked when each article had a one-page summary. You know, what was the research about, what was the findings, and what were some of the key walkaways that would be impertinent for the dissertation question for each of the questions. And just a one-page summary, they would file it and then be able to come back to it. So they had a little bit more detail than what you could keep in a Excel file. They just do a Word document. Others, like with EndNote, there's an actual place in there that you can highlight the article, put key comments in, and it saves it all. So you can go back and look through that. So you kind of have to decide which one you want. Okay. I want to take time right now. What might be a process that you find is helpful just going through your classes when you're reading these articles? What do you like to do?
Until now, I have used Zotero after our orientation to it with Lisa.
Mhm.
I've used that and created folders with articles. So as they come in, I drop them in there. I'm able to categorize them. But I also, in that process, discover others like academia, where authors drop their research. So I signed up when authors have produced new material so that I get a heads up. And I
Okay.
download those. And then on my desktop, I have a folder that it's like my junkyard or my junk drawer of articles all about the subject. And sometimes that's my offline go-to. So when I want to read more on stuff that sounds interesting, I don't know, but I still want to read it.
Mhm.
And that's my research folder.
And I have one candidate using Microsoft OneNote, and you guys have free access to that, and they put tabs and they load everything in there, and they keep it in there too. So they can write, but they can load the files or anything else. So whatever works for you guys. So Zotero's great, it's free. You've already had the training. You basically can use that. All right, so let's talk about what you're looking for in a lit review. So some questions to help guide you. What do the scholars say about your topic, your research topic? What are the debates within the area? Do some agree, some disagree? And why do they agree, and why do they disagree? What hasn't been said about your topic? A lot of times that's where you really find those gaps and what drives your research questions. So what hasn't been said? There's a lot of information on leadership. However, there hasn't been a lot of information perhaps on teacher leaders within the urban setting. Okay, so you would center your questions around that. And then what are the gaps? You've got to have a gap unless there's no reason for your research, right? What are you trying to support the literature on? A literature is about reviewing it and then developing a research so you can add to the literature in order to possibly even plug a hole that's not there. Okay. When you organize your literature, there's 4 different ways. Sequential, you kind of go down. There's the topical, depending on the different topics. Some do it methodologically or theologically. Okay, so that you will need to talk to with your chair, what best suits your research according to what your findings in the literature have been. Okay, so each of those will have a little bit different structure, but it's very important to get that structure right before you start writing. The biggest mistake is when the candidates, they go into, what happened? There you guys are. Did you see that? The PowerPoint, you guys?
No.
Oh, I was like, what? It doesn't look like it's looking right. Okay, I'm sorry. Like something happened because it's not showing up right. Okay, so these are the questions right here. All right. And then these are the 4 different types of organization. There's, you can do other mixture. And then basically the lit review matrix, I suggest before you speak with your chair, you kind of organize what you have found thus far in your research. So let's say it's been a 2-week period and you're going to meet with your chair. So with your topic or your question, who have you read? Those would be all the previous studies. What were some of the major variables that popped up for you? What were some of the actions, the type of data collection and data analysis that they've used? Okay, then you put that in front of you. So when you're talking to your chair, it's like a reminder and you look very intelligent, but actually what you're doing is looking at your notes. You summarize the last 2 weeks of the literature, what you have read on a specific topic in a specific strand, and then you talk to your chair about this. And if they were to come to me and say, oh, okay, I want to go in the route of building positive relationships, I would say that that would be good, but you need to be more specific, because we all know that if you develop positive relationship, of course, you're going to improve, key motivational practices. So you would want to, it helps guide your conversation. Okay. So with a literature review, it's about collection, asking those questions and collection. Like I said, some people do it old school. This would drive me crazy because I would lose every single piece of those papers. So, but other people enjoy organizing it that way. Then what you want to try to do is think about integrating what all the researchers have said. What have they said about your topic? And I gave you an example. The results of Hester study contradicts the findings of Smith, and then explain how it contradicts it. Okay. What commonplace opinions are on your topics? And you might say most experts, yada, yada, believe, something, but you're summarizing the actual literature. What do some assume? Some Title IX opponents assume most young women don't want to play sports at the collegial level. And then you would add your citations, of course. Okay. What are both sides of the argument? So then you would put the statement of the argument. These are a way to frame how you look at the literature when you're reviewing it. You're looking for key points. The one thing, the biggest mistake I see when you start your literature review, you want to put your opinion in there. At no time does your opinion enter into a lit review. It's not about what you think. Anytime you make a statement, you need to cite it. Okay, who is saying that? It's not you. Who is saying that? You're just organizing that literature into a summary. Okay, and then I put on here, you'll have it, but if you click on this, it goes to the rubric for the literature. We went over that, and then the approval format. Okay, so those are there. Let's go ahead and go there so you can see it. So this would be, literature review suggested rubric. I would have this up in my office. And every time I'm looking at that, coverage, do I have coverage of my topic? Am I synthesizing my topic appropriately? And am I addressing the methodology used to research my topic? Maybe there's a gap there. Maybe they've only done quantitative studies and I want to do a qualitative study. Okay, significance, have I addressed that? Okay, so basically this will be a rubric that you will need to look at, and probably every time before you begin the process of looking at the literature, I would read over that. Come on, get back there. All right. All right, so now we have a phrase, and if you have the PowerPoint, it might be a little bit easier to read it off of that. But here it is. So I want you to read through this. All right, the first sentence, what is that first sentence called?
Is that a problem statement?
It a little bit, it's kind of like a topic statement. It kind of identifies what you're going to be talking about in the paragraph, right?
Right.
Okay, and then we use in addition and however are two transitions to talk about the literature. Okay, so this might be a model that you can structure your paragraph when you have a lot of literature. So when you're reviewing, let's say you just reviewed 3 articles. Can you create a paragraph of this sort with between those 3 articles on a topic? Okay, so it's just an example. Sometimes these examples are good to have because your brain gets overloaded, and in just a guiding example for you to write. All right, so the next one, read through this one.
May I ask a question about the previous one?
Sure.
There was an ellipse there, the 3 dots in that first sentence. Is there a reason for that?
It didn't have more room.
Okay, so there's more.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just trying to give you an example in addition and however, that piece.
Okay.
What I find when people write the lit review, they start writing as a report and they're not posing it as a true literature review, where you're having the reader think about what the research is saying. Okay. I couldn't get it all. I was gonna give you the dissertation, but I thought this would probably just be enough. All right, so let's look through this one. So what did this do when they say in contrast to the views and for example? What is that doing right now?
It seems like it's presenting a juxtaposition of points.
This is kind of what's in the literature, and they specifically want the reader to understand a key point, right? They want them to understand this key point because ultimately that's going to play into the significance of my study. All right, so think about having some of that. And then basically, here's the last one. So in this one, I read a bunch of articles. And basically, most had the same agreement, but I did have this outliner that said something different, and I want to point that out. Okay. So as you can see, it's not a report that reads really well. It's saying, what is the research out there telling us? Well, all these individuals told us one thing, but however, one found something else in their research. Yes, Michelle?
Yeah, so is this type of the way you cited it, maybe, is that like just stylistic, or was that maybe intentional to like really support that one claim that you were trying to make by saying like, look at this plethora of authors, or is that just a stylistic choice, like you said, for citing? Or
It's saying there's a huge agreement within this field, this topical field, right? So I was pointing out the agreement that this is where here, but there is this other area. So if I wanted to do research in that one area that there's not a lot of support for, I might, I don't know, but I wanted to point this out. So you cite more than one author on a key point you want to bring out and that is really supported in the literature. So to the reader, it shows that not only have you read a lot of different research, a lot of literature, but you're understanding the commonality and the differences and how that might relate to your topic. It all goes around your topic and what your question is, where you want to go with your research. Okay, it all should mesh up. But it's not normal writing. We don't usually write this way. And so it's bringing out some key points. I'm going to split you in two groups. One's going to do 1 and one's going to do 2. Okay, so have the PowerPoint open. And they're going to be bigger groups, but I want you to point out key aspects, what's happening in these 2 little paragraphs. What are they doing that increases the readability, that presents their stance, and that maybe pushes you to get a mental picture of what the literature is saying. Okay, so just read through it. So let me put the groups up there so you're not reading stuff you don't need to. Pause. All right, so now with these 2, there's a couple little things. Let me pull them up again. And then we'll be done. Sorry, we're going just about a couple minutes over. I apologize. I had to hunt for a few things at the beginning there. All right. So with this one, what I want to bring out is really making clear cuts of how you write. When I say just write a paragraph. So the first sentence is your topic sentence, has a lot of data supporting data. So those are supporting details. And then the last one is kind of a summation, why am I even covering this in a literature review? How is it related to my topic? That brings out a key aspect for my research. Okay, so this would be an example to look at. I find that when you get good examples, copy, paste, print, and use them for when you're writing. The next one, you have 2 different points about hedonic motivation, correct? And as the group said, one, kind of for the student, the other one is about online learning. And so it clarifies, how do I do a transition sentence to the next paragraph? Same topic, but they're pointing out 2 key aspects with some details and then summarizing it at the end. So it's just, how am I writing? This is what the Writing Center can help you with. Really get 1 page of your literature review, go into the Writing Center and just help them understand the structure and help you write consistently. What we don't want to see is 200-page lit reviews when you're really not saying anything that couldn't be said, in 30 pages. It's supposed to be a synthesis of the literature. The better you're able to do this, your final defense will seem easy because you're prepared, you already synthesized it, and you're doing it. If you have to look over 200 pages when you do your proposal of your lit review, and we ask you a question, you might not know the synthesis. You've got to do that ahead of time. So I guess that would be the one thing. Really slow down, read. You have to read that literature. A key aspect, if you get it in Adobe, have it read it to you. You can convert it to Word. You can have it read it to you in Word. Have it read it to you while you're reading the paper version or the online version. Mark it up, make notes. And just like you would outline a chapter, kind of do that, but have some key questions. what did the research say? What are the key points that lead towards my research? And basically, how might this support a critical aspect of my research? The reason why it's significant. Okay. And then use the examples within this PowerPoint to say, did I compare and contrast? Did I synthesize? So I tried to give you some paragraphs that you can look at. That seems to be helpful for most candidates. Then they're able to take off. But you don't have to write a book for your lit review. You do have to understand the literature past, what the significance is, and the current, okay, in the gaps. So you do have to do that. And lastly, I think we are going to be sending out a, the last one, I just want to touch on theoretical framework, because this is chair specific of what they want you to do. But if you hear a theoretical framework, it's basically gives you an outline and guides you when you're actually doing your research and writing about it, because it gives you a model to follow. What are the key concepts in this theoretical framework that you might want to hook your research on? Okay, so my best, I don't know if we covered all the way theoretical framework in qualitative and quantitative. So I would suggest really read about this and try to see in all the dissertations you're reading, research, what are their theoretical frameworks in your topic area. List them. Just get a piece of paper, a file, list them. Every time you see one, list them. So when you go to think about, do I want to connect this as CRT? Do I want to connect this to maybe a conceptual framework like Bowman and Deals? You will have something, or the attachment theory. I'm focusing more in line with that literature. Okay, but it's a lens that you're going to do your research through, if that makes sense. And we will be sending out a evaluation, but when you communicate with your dissertation chair, communicate in a positive and a way that they feel confident in you. I've had some that says, all right, well, I'm done with this section. I'm ready to do my proposal. No, it's, you know, I've worked hard on my proposal. I have a polished draft and, you know, I'm ready to move forward, you know, if possible, to the next step. So you want to, it's not a demand from you. It's like, this is how we communicate. That will keep that communication open and let you know, yes, that looks really good. I'm glad, I'm excited to look. Okay. But communicate with your dissertation chair that each step of the way, and when you have a meeting, be prepared for that meeting, you guys. If I get somebody that comes on and says, you know, I really didn't read anything. Okay, well, let me know when you read it. Bye. It's not my dissertation. If you're struggling, then I will say, are you struggling with something? And they'll say, yes, I'm not planning efficiently. Then we'll work on planning. Okay. But if you don't have something for your chair, please don't schedule that meeting. Let them know you don't have anything. Can we have a meeting to talk about how I can get more organized? Okay. All right, you guys, I kept you over a little bit. You're wonderful. I'll see you in about 4 weeks. I'm going to be sending stuff out next week for the course. And so you guys will be